Hello everyone, welcome to our cyber session titled Modern Band Meets Classroom Instruments, Popular Music Approaches for Elementary General Settings. My name is Matt Clauhs, and I am an assistant professor of music education at Ithaca College, where I teach instrumental methods, wind band, and modern band pedagogies.
And I'm Beatrice Olesko. I'm also a professor of music education here at Ithaca College, where I teach classes related to general music, including one called Classroom Instruments.
If you're not familiar with modern band, Brian Powell and Scott Burstein, who work for Little Kids Rock, have defined modern band as a stream of music education that has two simple guiding attributes, repertoire and instrumentation. The repertoire is what might typically be thought of as popular, the term popular being used to mean of the people, in this case of the students. This is how music is typically represented in modern band classrooms, so we see iconic notation through the use of chord diagrams, as well as pictures of the drum kit instruments and the keyboard layout. And these are forms of iconic notation that we will use throughout this presentation today. Powell and Burstein go on to say the second consideration of modern band is the instrumentation. And just as orchestras and jazz bands have a typical instrumentation, so do modern bands: guitar, bass, keyboards, drums, vocals, and technology. The goal of our presentation is to examine how we might apply some principles of modern band and popular music pedagogy into an elementary general setting using classroom instruments to replace the typical instrumentation of electric guitar, keyboard, bass, drums, and technology. We will also be drawing on research and effective practices for popular music education, which include imitation, whereby students listen to recordings and imitate recordings in order to learn material. Ultimately, our performance will be an approximation of a popular music song. You'll notice that many of the rhythms that we do are simplified from the original recording, and of course they're adapted to use classroom instruments instead of the typical modern band instrumentation. Iconic notation is included in the new core arts standards, and it is something that has been widely used in popular music education for a long time. Of course, iconic notation is also really appropriate for younger students before they learned standard 5-line traditional staff notation, and we will be using this throughout this demonstration. Finally, popular music teachers tend to be more facilitators than directors or experts in the room. So this means teachers playing alongside of students, learning alongside of students, and making music together.
Elementary general classrooms are ideal settings to implement some of these ideas as well. We think that sometimes when children are really young that they have to be told everything that they need to do, but elementary general teachers know that children really need choice. They need opportunities to make decisions about their learning, and they really like to discover things on their own. So things like imitating the teacher and then exploring later through approximation, using iconic notation as something to do before introducing traditional, if you do at all, and facilitating the learning experience are all things that are really great for elementary children to experience in their general music classrooms.
To get the most out of this session, we encourage you to use a classroom instrument and play along with us, and at the end of the session there will be an opportunity for us to create an interactive virtual classroom ensemble together. So we hope you participate. Using the song Can't Stop This Feeling by Justin Timberlake as an example, we will explore how we can perform the roles of the drum kit, electric bass, and guitar on classroom instruments. We'll introduce each set of instruments and then have an opportunity to practice playing along with the set of those instruments before ultimately building to a full arrangement of the song. There are 3 drum kit instruments that serve as the foundation for a basic rock groove. That is the kick drum, also known as the bass drum, the hi-hat cymbals, and the snare drum. Now, if you have access to these instruments in your school, you could assign them individually to individual students in the class. So one student could play the bass drum, kick drum, while another student could play hi-hat and another play the snare. You could even have groups around the room with the kick drum and similar classroom instruments grouped together, the snare drum and similar classroom instruments together, and the hi-hat in separate sections.
If you don't have a drum kit in your classroom, you can approximate the same sounds using the classroom instruments that you might have around. So something you can use for the kick drum would be a frame drum or hand drum like this, a floor tom, which is sometimes easier for children to do, or a gathering drum if you want a really low, deep sound. For the snare snare drum, different instruments in your classroom you can use are rhythm sticks, a wood block, or claves. To substitute for the hi-hat, you can use various shakers and other similar instruments, like a cabasa, maracas, an egg shaker, a jingle tap, that's an oldie, tambourine, or even sleigh bells if you need to.
The iconic notation you see here on the left is a basic rock beat, and this was retrieved from littlekidsrock.org in the Jam Zone materials. And this iconic notation has been translated to a set of classroom instruments. So next we'll see how the drum kit basic rock groove can be performed by these same instruments. So at this time, we would like you to grab a classroom instrument or a found object that can be used as a classroom instrument, and please practice along with one of the drum kit patterns in the next video. You will hear an 8-beat count-in, and then you can begin. The role of the electric bass player in a modern band can be filled by using bass bars in a general classroom setting. So here I pulled out C, F, and A. These are nice because you can just use the bass bar instruments that are part of the chord progression in the song. Similarly, you could use an Orff bass xylophone and remove the bars that are not part of the bass line. So here I'm pulling out everything that is not C, F, and A, and the students could play this instrument. Of course, if you don't have access to a bass xylophone or bass bars, you can use a glockenspiel, which, while not the same frequency of an electric bass, certainly can play the same notes as an electric bass and is much more affordable of an instrument. So once again, we have an iconic notation bass chart from the littlekidsrock.org Jam Zone, and then we've translated that into color-coded pitches. If you have glockenspiels with colored bars, you could use color-coded pitches. Of course, if you're removing the bars on an Orff instrument or have bass bars that are labeled with the notes of the bass line, they should be easy for students to identify and access. So now let's hear how the electric bass line translates to a bass xylophone. Okay, please grab a xylophone or glockenspiel if you have access to one and practice along with our track.
For the guitar part, you can use a ukulele in your classroom if you have some of them or a classroom set. Ukulele is actually easier for children to play a lot of the time because there are only 4 strings and it's a lot smaller and easier to hold. You can get a ukulele in different sizes. Soprano for the children you have with the smallest hands. A concert like this one, or even a tenor ukulele can work well. And the ukulele is becoming an increasingly popular classroom music instrument across the United States, and children really like to play it too.
There are many great online resources for finding ukulele charts. I highly recommend you check out Dr. Jill Reese's YouTube channel, which has hundreds of play-along videos with backing tracks and chord charts for the ukulele. We've been using the Little Kids Rock Jam Zone. Here you can select an instrument, so we can select the ukulele, and then find thousands of songs that have ukulele charts. So the iconic notation above for guitar and ukulele shows how the same chord progression can be played by those two instruments. Let's hear what this sounds like. We can also use iconic notation on the keyboard. So here is a set of 4 pictures of keyboards that have the notes highlighted in gray for the student to play a chord progression for this song. All right, at this time, please grab a ukulele or keyboard and join us in our play along. Now that we've learned all of the different roles of the modern band and how they can be applied to classroom instruments, we'd like you to pick one of your favorite classroom instruments and perform Can't Stop This Feeling along with us and Justin Timberlake. You will hear 16 counts and then the song will begin. You may want to listen to it first to get a sense of the form and then join us when you're ready. After this practice play along, we will invite you to our Flipgrid where we're creating a virtual classroom ensemble that we hope to have all of your videos to contribute to one giant classroom ensemble.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. We flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes up off it. Moving so phenomenally. Room on lock the way we rock it, so don't stop. Got this feeling in my body.
If you wouldn't mind visiting the URL at the bottom of the screen, you could also use a QR reader on a phone to be directed to this Flipgrid page. And we'd like you to share your classroom instrument and voice with us performing Can't Stop This Feeling. And please do make sure you wear headphones when you do this, and that will make sure we get the best possible recording of you playing along with us. And once we've collected everyone's videos later this spring, we'll send out an email to share the giant virtual classroom ensemble with all of you. If you haven't used Flipgrid before, it's a really useful tool for creating and sharing videos and responding to questions through a video format. So it's a nice way to collect musical performances, solos, and that kind of thing. And it is free, but does require a sign-in through Google or Microsoft. So you will need a Google or Microsoft sign-in if you don't have one. So I'm here at our Flipgrid page, and I'm going to open up this YouTube video in a new window, and that will let me play the video while I record in Flipgrid. So I'm going to bring these side by side. Welcome to our virtual classroom. So I'll put the YouTube video over here, and I'll put the Flipgrid on this side. So having these side by side allows me to record in one while watching the play along video in the other. If you had multiple devices, you could also use one screen to play the play along video and the other to record. I'm going to scroll down here and record my response when prompted to do so. Welcome to our virtual classroom ensemble. Please make sure your headphones are plugged in and press record in Flipgrid at this time. Soon you will hear the music start, and please clap on beat 5. That will help us synchronize the recordings. So there's 16 bars of count in. We're going to clap on beat 5. All right, get ready. Clap on 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now get ready to play.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on.
I'll stop recording in Flipgrid. So you're welcome to redo it or if you're satisfied with it, you can click on next. There are also some options here to upload your own clip if you prefer. This will give you a preview of your performance. And if you're satisfied, add your name. You can also take a selfie or select a frame if you prefer the one that is not there. And then submit your recording. Because this Flipgrid is moderated, that means your videos will be hidden from the public until they are assembled together into our virtual ensemble video. So no one will be able to see your video until the whole project is complete. Alright, so please feel free to record as many Flipgrid videos as you like, to perform as many classroom instruments as you like, and we really hope to have a full classroom ensemble to share with you in a couple months. So thank you so much for participating. If you haven't already done so, please go to flipgrid.com/classroom instruments on a separate device or in a new window, and we'd really like to collect your recordings. We'll save a few minutes of presentation time to allow for you to do that.
Well, thanks for playing along with us today. We hope that you learned a lot about integrating elementary music and modern band together and how that could be a great music experience for your students. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either of us. We'd be happy to talk to you about this in more detail. Thanks so much.